everybody, and welcome back to the Drive Pink Dialogue, a podcast dedicated to the team going to the Eastern Conference Finals. And it's not NYCFC. Inter Miami is through. A 4-0 dominant victory over FC Cincinnati in Ohio. And the boys are doing something they've never done before. Welcome, everybody. I'm your host, Scotty. I'm here with my co-host, Saur. Before anything else, let's start with this. Saur, my friend, my co-host, how are you feeling today?
I'm a happy man. I'm a really happy man, and nothing can ruin this feeling. Not these next hour, next few days in the week, and nothing at all. I am in a very happy space, and primarily it has to do with Lionel Messi, it has to do with Mateo Silvetti, it has to do with Tadeo Allende. Who would have thought? But overall, no complaints in life, man. Things are going well. I'm enjoying my exotic little vacation. I get to do a podcast with you every time Inter Miami plays. We get to talk about Inter Miami winning. And what more do you want from this? How are you feeling?
Cynical in the chat says, we did a thing. Natalia says, it's a great time to be an Inter Miami fan. And I think that's where I'm at. Just happy, excited, filled with warm feelings. And this is sort of the best part about being a sports fan, is when you just get to bask in the glow of victory and accomplishment in ways that you've either never done before or you didn't think was possible. In this case, it's the former. Inter Miami's going to the conference final, and they're going to be the favorites, and they're going to host it, and it's going to be at Chase Stadium, and it's going to be a team we beat 6 weeks ago, 4-0 on the road, and everyone's in good form, and everyone seems happy, and nothing can bring me down right now.
I want to harp on the last 2 points that you made. Everyone is in good form, and everyone seems happy. We haven't been that way this entire season. So honestly, I'm willing to forego the entire, 34 games, however many games we played in the regular season, and all the trauma that we had to go through, all the negativity that we had to dispel, the concerns that we had about Javier Mascherano's coaching, the concerns that we had about team selection, to reach to this point where now it feels like Inter Miami is playing like a team. Inter Miami is playing as though they are hungry to win the MLS Cup. Every single player knows their role. Every single player is doing exactly what they want to do on the pitch. And we're enjoying the 90 minutes of football. It's been a while since we've said that as Inter Miami fans. It feels like everyone on that pitch, from the first player on the team sheet, that is Lionel Messi, to the goalkeeper, seems to be relishing the fact that they're in this playoff series. And I don't think we've ever seen Inter Miami click the way that they have over the last few games. And that is a great place to be, as some people in the chat have already mentioned.
Yeah. We have talked a lot about Javier Mascherano this year, and the goalkeeping situation, and the striker situation, and the wide play, and the defensive rotation and everything. But all of it is in service of being in this position and in this space. And the one thing we didn't want to have happen is see the pitfalls all season and them never be fixed. And we saw the pitfalls, we saw the errors, we saw the poor performances and the poor strategy, I think, for large parts of the season. But they got it right, and they are playing well, not just because guys have focused harder or upped their intensity, but they are in better rhythm. They have a better game plan. They have more cohesion. All the things you think show long-term and sustainable success, or at least repeatable success, is there right now. And for all of the crying and moaning we did when the things were bad, that was all so we could be here. And I definitely don't want to appreciate being here while we're here, because it'll be a whole new season next year with whole new players and a whole new process to get everything figured out. But for right now, all it is 90 minutes next Saturday, I guess, against NYCFC. So I'm just cloud nine right now.
And I want to confirm one thing. We're allowed to be on cloud nine. Like, this doesn't happen often. Inter Miami has never been in this situation before. So as fans, we're allowed to not overanalyze, but just be a little bit more enthusiastic about our team. Be boastful about it, because beating Cincinnati away from home the way that we did doesn't happen every single day. I know the job's not finished. There's two more games that Inter Miami needs to play, that Inter Miami needs to win for it to even matter. But I think you have to enjoy the journey while you're headed towards your final destination. And a lot of people in the chat may say, "Oh, we can't, overanalyze this or read too much into it. There's still two games to play against an opponent that Inter Miami has historically struggled." I think Inter Miami's worst performances have been against NYCFC over their entire history, in terms of getting a result there. But still, the fact that we won that game yesterday evening, but the way that we won it, allows Inter Miami fans to just enjoy this and relish in this for at least the next 3-4 days. So if anyone tells you otherwise, tell them to go annoy somebody else, because right now, as Inter Miami fans, we're allowed to have a little bit of fun. And yes, the job will be back on the market on midweek, I guess. But for now, over the next 2 days, we can enjoy this feeling because it doesn't come too often.
And if you're the players, I need you to be in Kobe mode where it's just job's not done. But
This is
for me, yeah. Okay, let's get into some of the news around Inter Miami, because we're going to talk about the game, some of the goals, performances, give out awards, all that stuff. But there's also been some player transfer news that has come out over the last couple hours. Inter Miami, I'm sorry, I want to get this right. Inter Miami has been linked by an Argentine reporter named Flavio Asaro to a Argentine right back named Facundo Mura from Racing Club. He is going to be a free agent at the end of this season from Racing Club. No contract extension with them, and it sounds like, according to this journalist, he may have decided to bring his to move to Inter Miami. I will say, I think there's questionable, accuracy from this particular reporter. So take it with a grain of salt. I don't think either of us are considering this a done deal, but an interesting name. And I would like to get your top line thoughts before I talk more about him.
I'm guessing this is a replacement for Chelo Wegan, and he's coming in as a backup right back option. Again, depending on what the contract situation is like, I don't know what this means for Ian Frey, but I do think we have a right back for the future in Ian Frey. And whoever we bring in has to be in synergy with what the plan for Ian Frey is. So I'll be interested to see how this actually is being figured out into our long-term planning for the back line.
Well, let's be clear about a couple of things. One, Ian Frey is also out of contract at the end of this season. He could leave.
Exactly.
Two, Ian Frey can play other positions, not just right back. He has slotted in at right back because he is better than the other options at Inter Miami in that position compared to some of the other positions. He stands out more. But he could be a versatile player that gets a lot of minutes here, especially with Busquets retiring. I think there's room in the midfield for Ian Frey. I think there's room at center back for Ian Frey, and then also at right back. I think he could get a lot of game time, even if you bring in a higher quality right back. That's two. The first is that Ian Frey might not be back next year. So keep those things in mind. Either way, they have $750,000 of their cap allocated to right back in the form of Chelo Wegan. And he's gone. And I think this is a sign he's not coming back, which, let's be frank, is the right decision. He is a solid player that came in, got 2 years to be on this team and won the Supporters' Shield with Inter Miami last year, and now has sort of, I think, reached the end point, and also may be going out on top because he might be Inter Miami starter for the next 2 games. But I do think this is a sign that spot on the roster, that mid-money fullback contract, is going to go to someone else and not Chelo Wegan. And it sounds like it could be Facundo Mura. I will just say the reports where he asked for $600,000 from Racing Club to sign a new contract. They didn't want to give that to him, or they hesitated enough to let other teams come in. So maybe that's the number we should be thinking about, which is less than Chelo Weigant makes right now. I will also say, I did some research into him. I don't think this is like a super slam dunk or anything. He was not a locked-in starter at Racing Club, but was like a real player. Think what Talasco Segovia is, a guy who would play almost every game, but maybe only start 35% of them. Can play left back and right back, so a little bit of versatility. But I think he would come in to be the starting right back and be like the 9th best starter on the team, would be my expectation.
Yeah, something tells me, I don't know, I don't want to jinx it before we actually make the signing, but something tells me Ian Frey is probably going to depose him within the next three weeks of them playing together, if that ever happens. Again, question mark about Ian Frey returning, but we'll have to look into it. I haven't done my research on him as such, and to understand what kind of a player he is, what he actually brings to the team. I think it's time for Chelo Weigant to leave the club. Of course, he's had his contributions last season. He was essential in the Supporters' Shield. He's done a good job this season when asked to, and I mean last night. So if he's to go out in a blaze of glory, then let it be with the MLS Cup in his hands. And I'll be happy with him being replaced by Mora. More to come on it if it gets more confirmed and if it gets more firm as a rumor. But it's interesting how we're approaching the right back situation.
Yeah, and Octi says Chelo just helped lock down Cincinnati. Put some respect on his name. Like I think if Chelo leaves at the end of this season, I think we shake hands and say that was a good job. Thank you for your service. Okay. The other thing I wanted to mention is that they released today the schedule for next weekend. Obviously, San Diego and
Portland.
San Diego playing.
Portland Timbers. They're playing
Minnesota.
Portland Timbers.
No, they're playing Minnesota.
They're playing Minnesota. Okay, my bad.
That game is tonight.
Why did I think they're playing Portland?
Portland got eliminated in the first round.
Yeah, there you go.
San Diego's playing Minnesota. Thank you to the chat. They are going to be playing Vancouver in the Western Conference Final. That game will be next Sunday. The Eastern Conference Final will be Saturday. Inter Miami hosts NYCFC at 6 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, the 29th. And that's the official update. I don't think there's anything else.
Yeah, 8 p.m. It's going to be a long night for me. Oh, well, it's going to be a long night for me. Oh, okay. That's helpful. Maybe not as long a night as I first expected, but still late in the evening for me. Regardless, I think this is going to be a fantastic game, and Inter Miami has to win it. No doubts.
Okay, we'll get back to that at the end, but let's get into the game real quick because I feel like there was always there was always going to be something about this game that was going to be difficult. And you get into it, and I thought the first 15 minutes were pretty difficult. I would say Cincinnati had the upper hand. And then everything changed in the 19th minute where Lionel Messi pushes it wide to Mateo Silvetti, and Silvetti has a beautiful cross back into the box to Messi, who, and I've said this before, is way better at headers than anyone his size has any right to be. I really do think he spent his 20s so good at dribbling and shooting that he thought, I'll just spend my time practicing headers. And he got great at that too. So Inter Miami goes up 1-0 in the 19th minute. And I never felt like this was a game again from that point on. When I was watching it live, there was enough in that first 20 minutes to make me nervous that I always thought Cincinnati could get back into the game because they showed some in that first 15, 20 minutes. But once you rewatch it, you realize that was it. They didn't have anything after that. And so in a real way, Inter Miami was only up 1-0 at the 19th minute through the first half into the beginning of the second half, but the game felt like it was won on the head of Lionel Messi in the 19th minute. That was how I felt watching this game, rewatching this game.
I will also say the first 20 minutes, I think, were a little skewed when you're with the nerves and you're anxious and you want your team to start well. But even then, even though Cincinnati had to take the initiative at home, they were taking the game to Inter Miami. I was very impressed with the structure and the discipline that Inter Miami was keeping. Defensively, we looked like we were a solid setup. Yes, Cincinnati was trying to unlock us a couple of times. They had a few really good opportunities that I thought Rocco Rios Novo stood up to really well. The defense cleaned up a couple of times as well, but that was expected. I genuinely thought that this could be an absolute hammer blow at the start from Cincinnati, where we're constantly under pressure, but that wasn't it. I think it was sustained pressure from Cincinnati. We have to recognize that they were good, but it felt like Inter Miami was having to defend as a team, but didn't always feel out of shape. We were looking good structurally. And then there were a couple of opportunities that we had where I thought our opportunities are better than what Cincinnati is getting right now. And then that header happens and it just completely flips the script, because you're right. The game for me, in all sense of the word, ended there. Because after that moment, Inter Miami was in absolute cruise control, or that's what it felt like watching that game live. At no point did I think Cincinnati was going to come back and threaten to be in this game again, even at the start of the second half, where it felt like Inter Miami was on top. So kudos to the mentality of the team for sustaining the pressure in the first 20 minutes, sticking to their guns structurally and making sure they're compact and defensively sound, and then taking their chances. So it was the perfect recipe for Inter Miami, and it changed the game when Lionel Messi headed that ball into the ground and straight into the net. I don't think there's anyone better at heading than he is, man. Forget his size. Every time he gets to the end of the ball, he just scores with his head, and it's insane.
Yeah, it was weird because he had a couple moments in this game where he has opportunities and then misses like the target, which was weird.
With his feet.
I think both of them were offsides, but that header was perfect. Echenique, their right wing back, had a couple moments down the right side. I thought Lucas Engel had a couple moments down the left. Brenner took advantage of Cello once or twice. But again, all of this was in that first 15, 20 minutes. You could see what they were trying to do, and you could see they had a little bit of success. And then even through the middle, Denke was doing a great job of pulling Inter Miami a little bit out of position to create some openings. But Evander and Brenner, the two number 10s for Cincinnati, were absent from this game, and they weren't there to take advantage of those moments. And then what I thought happened was 19th minute, Messi scores. Those two dropped their head, felt the pressure, and succumbed to the pressure. And when FC Cincinnati needed them to step up, they were not there for them. And then the rest of the team sort of thought, oh no, what do we do about this? They started sitting back a little bit more defensively, and Miami could push the pressure higher up the field, and then they were no longer playing their game, and it was sort of like a mental crumbling, I thought, from Cincinnati's side, and maybe only from Brenner and Evander up until middle of the second half when Inter Miami really pulls away.
You know what? It looked like tactically Inter Miami had a choice to make, whether to stick with Evander and Brenner and then let Cincinnati attack through the flanks, or cover the flanks and allow Brenner and Evander to get on the ball centrally. I thought Javier Mascherano made the right decision by being compact centrally. If you look at the structure Inter Miami had in the first 20 minutes, we were very central with Noah Allen almost tucking in, and then Jordi Alba also supporting centrally rather than covering the flanks. I thought Denke did a really good job playing off his man and being able to get into good spaces, holding the ball up really well. But because of the central compactness that Inter Miami had, with Jordi Alba, Rodrigo de Paul holding their position, but also Maxi Falcao, Noah Allen, Jordi Alba, Sergio Busquets, all staying that central role and cutting out the passing lanes, Denke didn't have anybody to play through. And his only options were the wide channels. And Inter Miami forego the wide channels to allow those opportunities to come in from that side, and instead choose to close down the spaces in the middle, because we know as soon as Evander has space in the middle, as soon as Brenner has space in the middle, they can actually do a lot of damage. And I think that trade-off paid really well in terms of dividends. And Inter Miami was able to deal with whatever was coming on the wide sides, whether it was through a little bit of luck with that Denki opportunity that he had, where he almost shot into the goal. But I think the trade-off completely paid off over the course of the game, because Evander and Brenner were forced to sit back a little bit. They wanted to get on the ball, so they started to push themselves further back into the back line, trying to get on the ball, and that allowed Inter Miami to further push up. And I think that just completely changed the nature of the game, because Inter Miami then went on the front foot instead of allowing Brenner and Evander to be on the front foot.
Yeah. I would, just to be fair to FC Cincinnati, Ender and Echenique had a opportunity. He pulls it wide. I'm not sure Rocco wouldn't have been there if it was on target, but you know, if he scores that, different game. Evander has a ball float to him in the box, and he would have had to hit it off the volley. It would have been a nice goal, and he doesn't handle it well. But if he scores that, it would have been a totally different game. I really think this FC Cincinnati team just was looking for someone to give them a spark, and it just never came. And Inter Miami, as they get settled into the game, they realized this, and then they were able to start pushing forward, starting to put the pressure on Cincinnati, and then it became kind of easy by the second half. What I will say is, on the rewatch, second half domination. There were points in the first half where I felt Cincinnati could have been in this game if a thing or two went differently.
I do want to commend Inter Miami, though, because I think even when we did go up 1 goal, we didn't sit back and absorb pressure. It could have been very easy for Inter Miami to sit back, protect that 1-0 lead, and say, listen, this is the conference semifinals. We have to protect the 1 goal that we have, and we just got to play it safe. No, they were pushing high up. They were risking the chance of Cincinnati getting in behind their defenders, and they trusted the likes of Maxi Falcone and Noah Allen to clean up after themselves, which I think was the right strategy. You can't let the pressure up when Cincinnati is under the cosh, and that showed, because Inter Miami had a couple of really good opportunities even afterwards. It came at the expense of Cincinnati also getting those opportunities. But again, it paid off after the second half, because as soon as Inter Miami got that second goal, it was game over for Cincinnati.
Yeah. And then moving into that second goal, 57th minute, just what you guys need to know is Messi put someone through on goal and they scored. And that was sort of the theme of the second half. 57th minute, it was Silvetti's turn. He puts him in on that left side, and it's a beautiful curler into the far post by Mateo Silvetti. He gets his second goal contribution. Messi gets his second goal contribution. And what have I been saying for the last 6 months? If Inter Miami is going to win, they're going to need 2 goal contributions from Messi. They get in the 57th minute, and you're right. Cincinnati had nothing from that point forward. They switched formations. Pat Noonan, the Cincinnati coach, was desperately looking for answers. And I think with the lack of confidence from their dual 10s, or if you want to call Brenner a second striker, they just weren't going to get it. And they had nothing left after that.
Again, Jordi Alba stepping up when he needed to, being smart about it, not unnecessarily pressing, wins the ball high up. Messi, he's just so good at distributing that ball, man. When he does such an interesting thing where his body on the ball is always leaning towards his left-hand side. Always. The opposition should know that the ball is going that way, yet they can do nothing to stop it. And it's such a crisp, angled ball straight into the feet of whoever's out on that wide flank. And in this case, it was Mateo Silvetti. And yeah, an assist for the GOAT, one of the few that he had this game. But again, I thought, yesterday we said Messi played a supporting role in this game. I take it back. He was all over the pitch. He was involved in every single goal, every single good moment that Inter Miami was having. I think Pat Noonan after the game mentioned that they gave Messi too much space. He created the space for himself. Look at the first goal. His running off the ball, where he just finds that space, completely dupes two defenders and gets at the end of the ball and heads it in. Like, that's not normal. That's perfect. And yeah, it's just, I thought he was brilliant once again in this series, in this game. And what can we even say, man? I'm sure we're going to talk about him in the awards, but I just want to say that that goal was so good, both from Silvetti and Messi.
Yeah. Cincinnati now down 2 goals at home, do or die game. They start really pushing numbers forward. They make a sub right after that. It was something of a like-for-like sub. Lucas Engel was their left wing back. They take him out for Orejano, who is more of an attack-minded wing back. After, like, when play resumed, he was on the field. And then they just, again, they couldn't get anything going. They were pushing forward, and then they had to leave space in behind. And Rami took advantage of that with the guy who's the best at taking advantage of that, which is Mateo Silvetti, which is Tadeo Allende. Makes the deep run. Messi finds him, perfectly weighted pass, and then this time, been a couple times this year where he hasn't finished that one-on-one opportunity. This time he finishes. It's his 19th goal of the season, and Inter Miami at this point wins the game. It's 3-0. Cincinnati's not going to come back. They make 2 more substitutions after this and change their formation. They are a strict 3-4-2-1, 3-4-1-2 team. That back three is the staple of Pat Noonan with the 2 defensive midfielders in front of them. When Inter Miami scores that 3rd goal, they take out a center back, put on an attacking player, and then what you saw for the last 25 minutes of the game was just Inter Miami continuously getting in behind. Only score 1 extra goal after this is Allende. It's the 20th goal of the season for Tadeo Allende. But you saw Rodrigo de Paul get an opportunity. You saw Luis Suarez get an opportunity. And it was not in the service of creating anything effectively going forward for Cincinnati. So from that point on, it was lights out.
A couple of points, because that 3rd goal, once again, Messi wins the ball high up. Messi and Baltazar combined to win that ball. Messi with a perfectly weighted pass into Allende. Allende with a finish with disdain. He felt like somebody who was playing with confidence in that game. But for me, I think the biggest talking point here is in these do-or-die games, it's so important to score first. Because as soon as Inter Miami as a team gets the first, they can get the second. And then they can just like open the floodgates and take the game completely away. Because when you're playing a knockout game like this, and as soon as you get the first goal, the other team has to immediately start coming out of their shell. They can no longer sit back and absorb the pressure. They have to come out and try to score a goal to bring this game back level. And that just plays into Miami's hands. And the reason I mention this is because it's not just important for this game. It's going to be important for the New York game. It's going to be important for whoever we play in the MLS Cup finals. You score first in these knockout rounds, and it just completely changes the nature of the game, more so for Inter Miami, who is so good at playing with open space in front of them. And that's why we see Inter Miami scoring so many goals when they score first early or score the first 2 goals and then just take the game away completely. It's not a coincidence.
And this team has, in the Messi era, gone on stretches where they just score in the first 15 minutes, game after game after game after game. You think about that Leagues Cup when he first arrived. I think 6 out of the 7 games they scored in the first 15 minutes. Last year, there was a stretch where we started pressing high and we would get a goal. We would get 2 goals in the first 20 minutes and then kind of just see out the rest of the game. They can do that continuously, game after game, if they can get into the right stretch. And maybe this, not formation, but lineup allows them to be a little bit more on the front foot early and then create those opportunities. Let's talk about it. Was there any other moments from this game? Because there's, a bad touch here or there, a mental mistake here or there, but where I'm at right now, I don't want to dwell on that kind of stuff because Inter Miami just won the conference semifinal. So I think I'm okay just leaving it with those goals.
I think the last thing we can say without talking about individual players, which we will in the awards section, this was the near perfect performance that Inter Miami has in them. And I think there's another gear that this team can get to, by the way. So this isn't even the final form. This was a very perfectly full stop performance from Inter Miami. Let's hope we can do this again against NYCFC and then again in the MLS Cup final. Two more games. You have to do this. You have to put in this level of performance, and I I don't doubt this team to do that. I think this team is more than capable of doing that.
Okay, let's have the conversation before we get to awards. The big talking point is that Luis Suarez was kindly asked to have a seat with the rest of the substitutes, and Mateo Silvetti was in the starting 11. I'm sure we'll talk about Mateo Silvetti when we get to awards. So let's just stick with how the team was able to play with this 4-4-2 setup, a little bit more athleticism, technical ability through the middle of the park. I think that is something we haven't talked about enough when we talk about Luis Suarez. Is he is ultra good on the ball. His vision's incredible, and his ability to pick a pass is great. But he's not going into the midfield and helping you maintain possession through like great interchanges and dribbling past people and stuff like that. And when he does, it's kind of like a special moment. He's not consistently in there helping you alleviate
And
pressure.
sometimes he gives the ball away when he tries to do that as well. Like he's had those moments before.
Well,
I do
everyone has
wanna-
those moments. I don't want to.
Yeah.
But it's just that's not what his role is. That's
Broadly
not what he tries to
speaking.
do.
But I do want to say I think it's less a 4-4-2 and more 4-3-3 because Baltazar's effectively playing as like a midfielder. Again, it'll be interesting to see what the charts look like and what the heat map looks like. But I do think there's a structural difference here because Silvetti plays slightly out wide. Messi plays through the middle as the false nine. Of course, Messi falling into the middle makes it look like a 4-4-2, but he can pop up anywhere he wants to, even if it includes being the goalkeeper. So I think it's, without being rigid about what the formation we play, one very easy answer to your question is defensive stability. I think we just have the legs now. Inter Miami with Luis Suarez in it loses basically two players because we lose Messi and we lose Luis Suarez in the defensive duties. The pressing is immediately much more impressive. We can sustain it for a longer period. It's not happening sporadically. It's not when Luis Suarez wishes to go up to try and press the ball, that's when we're going to press. It's almost sustained at certain points. And we can do it not just for the first 30 minutes. We can do it over a period of a long time. And that for me just adds so much value because when you become defensively stout as a team, that takes the pressure completely off the offense because now they can just go and play. They can go and have fun because they know that the defense is not conceding goals. And when you have that extra man in the middle to do the dirty work for you, there's a reason that Inter Miami was able to score 3 goals by winning the ball in very dangerous positions 3 times. Jordi Alba stepped in, won the ball, created that extra man in the middle with Baltazar, Rodrigo de Paul, and then Jordi Alba stepping in and winning the ball. Messi and Baltazar Rodriguez won the ball for that 3rd goal. And then again, for that 4th goal, it was, I believe, Chelo Weigand and I want to say Telasco Segovia who won that ball in that right-hand channel, passed it off to Messi, who then passes it into Allende. So it's not a coincidence. There's a reason this is happening. And there's a reason that you can do that over sustained periods because when Suarez is playing that isolated striker role, you lose a body. That is one answer effectively. But I'll stop there to give you time to respond to that.
I think that's too simplistic. I have seen many
But it's
times,
an important part of it, though.
No, but I don't
think it's
necessarily think
simplistic.
it's. I don't think it's necessarily right with that level of simplicity. I mean, I've seen Suarez track back. I'm not.
I highly disagree on this because, yes, tracking back is one thing, but he completely takes the shape out when he does it. Sorry, I've already spoken enough. So
I think this is a little bit more complicated. I think also part of it is that the level of intensity for the entire team is like stepped up. But what I will say is Inter Miami has been out athleted in this specific matchup all year and really for the last 2 years against FC Cincinnati, and they weren't last night. And that's a big part of it. And I guess I'm going to leave it there because I don't necessarily have the right answer, but I see this and I hear this over and over and over again. And I've seen it work with Suarez plenty of times. I've seen it not work without Suarez plenty of times. That I think to just go to this is a little simplistic, but I don't
I actually
necessarily
think
have
the
a better
answer
answer.
is I think the answer is a lot more. I know we're trying to find that complex analytical answer of how we can make it happen, but sometimes 1 + 1 is equal to 2, man. And I think this is the case with Suarez here. And when he's on form, and he can really do stuff, but that's rarely the case anymore. So, unless you have a better answer to this question, I think I'm going to stick to my
That's fine.
description of keeping it simple.
That's fine. I definitely think that's too simplistic, but that's just my opinion. And we'll have a more detailed conversation about this in the midweek episode. I'm not quite there with what I think yet, so everyone can leave it up to their own interpretation for now.
So, in the rules of rhetoric, I win this argument. Let's just put it on the board and move on.
Yeah, sure. No, I think a couple things, because I want to be smarter about this than just say, oh, Suarez doesn't run. Because Suarez does run. He's just not fast. He does turn the ball over more than you want, and Silvetti was better about that. So I think that's part of it. But we have seen games where Jordi Alba's turning the ball over a lot, and DePaul's turning the ball over a lot, and you have the defenders turning the ball over, or Segovia or Baldassar. And that didn't happen either. So, like, the whole team was really clean on the ball, and I think that makes it look a lot better. I think the midfield looked really athletic and was closing spaces down, and I thought that made it look a lot better. And I thought Cincinnati was bad, and that made it look a lot better. And none of this is none of this is me saying Suarez should go back in the starting 11. I want to be clear about that. Only to say that because you're switching out an old guy for a young guy, everything just becomes easier and more athletic and better is like simple and I don't think necessarily is.
No, you didn't
fully
hear what I was
revealing.
trying to get at, because I didn't even use the old versus youth argument. For me, it's not about the legs. It's about the positioning. And so the reason I used an isolated striker to describe Luis Suarez is because he does play as an isolated striker. He's not going to try and offer you that extra body in the midfield 9 times out of 10. Yes, he will do it a couple of times, and when he does it, as you said yourself, it's a rare occasion, it's a special occasion when he offers himself in the middle. I think that's the difference, right? With Silvetti coming in, adding that extra body, just falling deep. It's not about the legs. It's just closing down the space and putting himself in that space to just protect the back line. It adds a body to the middle.
Can I offer like an alternative question that maybe will illuminate this? I think if you put Fafa Pico in instead of Silvetti, it doesn't look as good as it did. And so it's not the guy tracking back and putting another body willing to go be a help in the midfield. I think it's actually maybe more about Silvetti than anything else.
I don't want to say it won't look. I can't really say when we haven't even seen Fafa Pico do that role. So again, this is a conversation about ifs and buts. But yes, it has a lot to do with Silvetti himself, because he's very clean on the ball with what we've seen so far. He is, I don't want to use the legs point, but his IQ and his positioning looks very good.
No, but okay, but then we're talking about something different here. We're talking about Silvetti having an understanding of where he should be.
Yeah,
that's really
and that's
impactful on this team. But that's not the simplistic version that I think you would see 100 out of 101 people argue is why Suarez should be benched. That is saying that Silvetti actually has like an understanding of how to fit into this team and combine with everyone that you don't lose.
But that's what you need, right?
Right, but Suarez has that too, and you don't lose it with Silvetti, but then you also get some of the better positioning, a little bit more effort, pressing, rangy pressing. Like you get the other things without losing his ability to combine with Messi, his ability and understanding of where Messi wants to be and where he needs to be to receive balls from Messi and create space. Like he has all of that in a way that I don't think you could just take Suarez off the field and replace with anyone and get those things. So I just think this is a little more complicated. But again, I don't have the full answer, so I'll let you rhetorically win the
No, but
argument.
I think the second point that we haven't even talked about is the verticality. That verticality killed Cincinnati yesterday. And it wasn't just Allende, it was Silvetti as well. And that has to be recognized. And yes, it may not work against New York, who's a lot more defensively stout compared to Cincinnati, but against Cincinnati, that actually is a very important factor. Inter Miami loses verticality when they have Suarez in the middle, because he does not offer that at all. And whether that has to do with legs, whether that has to do with how he plays as a striker, we can debate that for all we want. But there's definitely some simple answers to it. There's definitely some complex answers to it. I think sometimes you just have to accept the fact that a player is not clicking, and at this point in time, it doesn't feel like Suarez is clicking. But again, I know you always like the analytical answer, so maybe we can
But
think about it a little bit more and get to
it's
it in the
it's
midweek episode.
it's not just that. Like I really think this is as much a Silvetti thing as it is a Suarez thing.
I don't mind that. I don't mind that. If
like
that's
I,
the
I,
answer, then I don't mind it.
I really do. Okay. We'll talk about
Awards.
NYCFC so we can continue this conversation when we get to it. Let's get to awards. Sorry, we didn't organize that beforehand. Guys, as you know, after every game, we give out 6 awards, a hair in the match, a Heron that flew north, and 2 individual awards each. And Saur, because I'm a gentleman, we'll let you go first. Who was the man of the match for Inter Miami in this game?
It's simple. I thought about giving it to somebody else, but then I thought to myself, how dare you? And it has to be Lionel Messi. 3 assists and 1 goal. And in fact, he had a role to play in every single one of those goals. First goal, beautiful header. Second goal, great assist. Third goal, wins the ball, has the assist. Fourth goal, I think he did something there that won us won us that fourth goal as well. It was just amazing to watch, man. He was just brilliant through and through. I can't speak highly enough of what he's doing. I think somebody in the chat mentioned this, or I saw it on Twitter, but just to put it into perspective, people think that Denny Bouanga and Heung-min Son, since Son's joined LAFC, has been an absolute dynamic duo. Messi has outperformed them, and how, in the time that those two have started getting hot. Messi is not just hot, he is like a planetary body. He is celestial. He has been playing on a level that is incomparable to any other footballer that we've seen so far. And I swear, if the MLS was recognized as a top 5 leagues, this would be abnormal and everyone would be singing his praises. It's been amazing. And he has to do it 4 more times, because if Messi has 2 goal contributions against NYCFC, we win. If Messi has 2 goal contributions against whoever we play in the MLS Cup final, we win. And I don't think he's going to stop anytime soon. This has been an absolute joke of a playoff run by Messi. I think he's broken the record for how many goal contributions a player has had in the MLS playoffs. And I'm just going to stop there, because I can go on an entire soliloquy of just how good Messi is. My goodness.
He actually got the hockey assist on the first goal too. Like he goes to Silvetti and then also receives it for the goal. So I don't know if that counts. He could get a 5th goal contribution for 4 goals there, but no, it's insane. You mentioned the stat about Heung-min Son and Denny Bouanga. What he's doing right now is something we'll never see again. I don't even know if Messi will provide this again next year or moving forward. Like this is absolutely the best we've ever seen from him. It's the best I've ever seen from anyone ever. Like, I don't know how else to put it. I don't know if he looked like this when he scored 91 goals in a year, but he may be on that pace right now. Again, I will remind you, I said 65 goal contributions. I think he may have hit 65 last night for the season. And like he's on his way to 70. So guy's a super talent, and there's no other way to put it.
I don't even think he's a talent, man. He's just something else. I have lost words to describe him. That performance yesterday was nothing short of unbelievable. My goodness. Anything else do we have to say on him?
Well, here's what I will say. when we first ended this game, like I think maybe we would have had a question about who was the man of the match. And I'm sure we'll talk about those guys in a minute, but when you rewatch it, it's pretty clear. Like
It's unquestionable.
it's
Yeah.
Messi. So in a game where Tadeo Allende has his best game of the year, and Mateo Silvetti arrives, and Maxi Falcone shuts down a very dangerous FC Cincinnati back line. Like with all of those things happening, it was Lionel Messi. It was Lionel Messi. So that's what I'll say. In a game where a lot of players had season best performances, Lionel Messi was still the man of the match. Okay, our second award, Heron that flew north. Always tough to give after a great game. Florida Herons don't fly north for the winter. They don't fly anywhere for the winter. So if you catch one flying north, you caught them doing the wrong thing. And in that vein, I am giving this award to Chelo Weigant. I think for the first 15 minutes, he was the weak spot. They identified it. They attacked him. And then I thought after 15 minutes, he stepped up, the team stepped up, and they solidified that side. But in a game where everything goes right, getting abused once or twice, and abused is maybe even the wrong word, getting beat once or twice is all it can take to get the Heron that flew north when everyone plays great.
I thought you were going to give it to Jordi Alba for being nutmegged by Orellano, but fair enough. Give it to Chelo Weigant. I don't disagree with it. I think he was the weakest player. He was the weakest link in the team, and that's fine. It's not a knock on Chelo Weigant. It's just everyone else is in such good vein of form that they're performing at a phenomenal level, and you could see immediately that Cincinnati, as soon as they went up against him, he got rinsed the first 5 minutes twice. And there were opportunities that they created on that side. The only thing was they just could not put a decent cross in. Every time they tried to cross from that side, it went over. I think it was Engels who tried to cross it on that side, but it wasn't looking good. I was surprised that they didn't target Chelo Weigant more. And Maxi Falcone, credit to him, he locked it down on that side and pulled Chelo Weigant up with him. But I can understand why you're giving this award.
I think the game plan was to have Brenner go after Chelo, and he just didn't have it. And I will say, like, in Chelo's defense, hasn't played in a month, like significant minutes, came off the bench and was rusty for 10, 15 minutes and then was fine. And after the first 15 minutes, he was fine. So, harsh to give him this award, but it's a game that everyone played well. And I would even give Chelo positive. I would give him positive marks overall for this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really harsh. Boss says in the chat, Chelo didn't let up a goal for the first time in 6 months, and he still gets Heron that flew north. That's how bad he is. But no, I think it's a little harsh in a game when Tamami does so well. But I gave you the option of not giving this to anyone, and you decided to give it to Chelo. So respect for you for doing that, and I agree. Fair enough.
You are not my boss when it comes to this. You don't get to give me my release me of my duties for this. Okay. What I will say, a couple of people saying Noah Allen. I also saw a couple Noah Allen moments that you would want him to be better, but he also had the goal-saving moment. Baltasar Rodriguez kind of heads a ball back to Denke. Denke's pacey. Noah Allen got inside of him, took the right angle, and cleared it. And that was, outside the first 19 minutes, once Inter Miami scored goal number 1, that was the most dangerous moment for Cincinnati in the entire game. And Noah Allen cleared it. That's exactly what I think this tandem needs to look like for the next 2 games. Maxi Falcone is going to be the stalwart, the playmaker defensively. But in the last man situations, that's where you want Noah Allen to clean up for you, and he did that exactly like you want him to. That will be hugely important. And by the way, apparently he's fine. I know he left the game early with cramps. He said it was just cramps and that he'll be fine. NYCFC is a team that wants to hit in transition. They've got some pacey guys going the other way. Noah Allen's going to be the guy responsible for tracking those guys down in last man opportunity situations, and that's all that matters to me if he can do that right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think Noah Allen was very good over the course of 90 minutes, and he didn't have an easy job. This was probably the most fearsome attack that Inter Miami is going to go up against this entire season. And the two held their own, got the clean sheet, and I think it'd be harsh to give it to Noah Allen, especially after a couple of really momentous occasions that he saved Inter Miami's butt. So I think that's that. I agree with you on this.
Okay. What is your first award?
My first award is the Herons Odyssey Award.
The Herons Odyssey Award. Okay. This is a player that's been through a journey with Inter Miami. But has he been on a personal journey or has he been on the Inter Miami journey? I think he's been on a personal journey and he's finally getting to go home. This is either Busquets or Jordi Alba. I'm going to go it's Jordi Alba.
No, why? You were doing so well. And the chat's got it. The chat has got it.
Oh, it's Allende.
It's Tadeo Allende. You were doing so well. So for those of you who don't know, Odysseus of Ithaca, for 10 years after the Trojan War, tried to go home. But for some reason or another, the gods scorned at him and told him he's going to struggle and he's going to have a really difficult time getting back to his homeland of Ithaca. He had to go through one-eyed giants. He had to go through weird witches. He had to go through storms. But eventually he gets back home and shows everyone why he's king. I don't think I'm going to go as far to call Allende a king, but my goodness, this player has gone on a personal journey. He started off the season very well, where you and I both said that this is a surprise signing. He's done exceptionally well in having the goal contributions. I think he had 5 goals in his first 7 or 8 games, and he was scoring for fun at some points. And then suddenly he just jumped off a cliff. And that's when the journey started. He had abuse from the fans. It looked like he was completely short of confidence. We denounced him for the performances that he was putting in. And now he's a 20-goal striker for Inter Miami. And no matter how you look at the season for Tadeo Allende, his odyssey is complete. He's arrived home. This game was his homecoming. This will be a successful season from him. He didn't get lost at sea. He managed to complete his journey. And he has 2 more games to continue to show that. But I think his season has been fantastic in the grand scheme of things. Kudos to him for returning back into form. And thank you for finishing off those 2 chances, because they were brilliant opportunities one-on-one. And he just hammered those in like it was nothing. Played with confidence. Probably his best game of the season.
Let me give you a little inside Scotty's head here for a minute. The way I think about players is that if I see it in you, it is really hard, if not impossible, for me to think it's gone forever. And you see that in ways that I talk about Luis Suarez, but that's also true about Tadeo Allende. And we saw this, maybe not to this level of spectacular, but his ability to be a goal-scoring threat over the top, impact games in that way. We saw it early in the season, and I believed. And so when he was going through the tough times, it was obviously tough, but it did not mean he was a terrible player, and I wanted to continue to make sure I made that clear, because I did believe he could be this guy. Well, maybe not quite what he was last night, but a really impactful player for Inter Miami. I still don't know if we handled it perfectly in the middle of the season in terms of helping him get to this spot, but he got to this spot in this moment, and that is, I think, the thing that matters most. He is, without Suarez, he's your other best goal scorer on this team. And
is he above Suarez as well? I think, yeah, he has scored more goals. Not in terms of goal contributions, but scored more goals.
Yeah, I mean, when if the ball's in the box,
just talking numbers.
But I'm going to ask you now: if the ball's in the box and you get a shot off, you obviously want Messi taking it first, but maybe you do want Allende being number 2.
No, I didn't mean it in terms of he's better than Suarez. I just literally asked it in terms of
That's what I'm saying. Like, right now, who's
No,
the most likely
Suarez.
to score a goal?
Suarez, Jesus Suarez, not Allende. I still don't trust him. Out of like
No,
8 out of 10 times, I would, but there's 2 times that I think he's not going to miss it. So I think Suarez is still a better finisher than Allende. Let's not twist it.
Right, but my point now, so we can get on the same page, is that with Suarez not on the field, that's what Allende becomes. Baltasar, Silvetti has 1 goal at Inter Miami.
No more, 2, I think. Maybe.
Okay, maybe 2. Baltasar has 1 goal. Like, so Allende has 20. Allende has 20.
Insane.
So, like, I think he's going to still have important moments in this playoffs, and I think it's huge. Can we take a detour for a minute and talk about Allende's future? Because he's on loan from Celta Vigo. Inter Miami doesn't have a buy option as far as we know. His stock is rising. I've mentioned this a couple times this year. It's going to be very hard for them to thread a needle that sees Allende back next year. Either he wasn't going to be good enough, or he was going to be so good that other clubs would want him that maybe are of a higher profile than Inter Miami. If you're Celta Vigo, you're watching this and you're thinking, oh, perfect. Now we can sell him to Germany for $2 million or whatever. We may also be watching the final games of Tadeo Allende at Inter Miami over the next 90 to 180 minutes. And if that's the case, like, I think he's going out with us all feeling very, very happy that he was here.
I would sign him back if it can work monetarily.
Well, I just think it'll be very difficult. That's all.
Yeah, it will be. You're right. But it'll be hard to lose him. It was hard to lose Matias Rojas and Campana and the lot and Robert Taylor, but they didn't even have that level of goal contributions as he's had. So it's hard to replace these goals. These goals are really difficult to replace. 20 is not a joke at all. So we'll have to find a solution one way or another, whether it's bringing him back somewhere or bring someone else in. But regardless, I think he's done a fantastic job in winning the fans' trust back. And somebody in the chat mentioned he has re-earned his Argentinian citizenship, which I think is, yes, correct.
Yeah, and it was all about confidence for him also. Like, when he was at his worst, you could see it was because he was just totally devoid of confidence. Okay. The Herons Odyssey, good award, interesting award. I always find it the most frustrating when I totally understand and nail the nature of the award and then totally whiff on it.
Well, somebody didn't like my Greek references in the chat, and I will say that was a very hard, difficult award that I thought of for a long time. So I'm very sad that you didn't like my Greek references.
They're making a movie about the Odyssey with
yes, they are.
James Cameron? No.
No, Christopher Nolan.
Thank you, Christopher Nolan. Okay, my award, and I will be honest, I never thought I would give this award, is the Silver Slasher Award.
The Silver Slasher Award. The Silver Slasher. It makes me feel like there's like a saber thing involved, a knife theme happening. Does it go to Rodrigo de Paul because he slashed the midfield completely and cut it apart? Okay, Silver Slasher, somebody you didn't think you were going to give it to at all. Mateo Silvetti for being a silver superstar. I don't know. I'm blown, man. I don't know.
It does go to Mateo Silvetti. If Mateo Silvetti was a supervillain, he'd be called the Silver Slasher. Silver because Silvetti, but he just slashed through that Cincinnati defense like it was butter.
Dumb, I'm so
and he slashed through that natural defense like it was butter. And I never thought I'd give this award because I was going to give the second award, and I thought you would give him an award first. But Mateo Silvetti, I'm just going to say, I can't say enough good things about him. And maybe I'm just not going to say anything else except...
I'll say it on your behalf.
Wow, what a player. What a player.
You know why I didn't give Mateo Silvetti the award? Because I knew you were going to give it to him. So I think we both had the same wavelength here. No, that's a good award. I also had an award for him that maybe I'll use another time. But that's a great award, actually. And I didn't even think Silva and Silvetti would relate, which makes me feel so dumb. But he's on his way to becoming an absolute superstar. And I'll tell you exactly why. It's not a reactionary thing where we see him perform well in one game, have a goal, have an assist, and we're just high on the Silvetti bandwagon. This has been coming. We've seen glimpses of him performing so sparkily, so with so much spice in certain games. And we're just like, okay, this looks good. He hasn't had his chance from the starting 11 yet. And when he does, can he sustain it? Last game against Nashville, when he got the start, he had that moment where he had to decide whether you shoot or whether you make a setup for Messi. He sets it up for Messi. Great choice. Then he goes out and does this in this most crucial crunch game. It's not his talent, it's not his skill set, it's not his finishing, it's the confidence with which he carries himself. He just feels like he belongs. And there's just a certain aura about certain players.
Stop.
No, it is.
Stop. It is also about his passing and finishing.
Yeah,
and talent.
exactly. Yeah. 100%. So I don't know, man. This is a player I'm really excited about. I completely agree with you. Like, we shouldn't blow the trumpet on him and make it sound like he's the best thing that's ever happened since sliced bread, but he may just be the best thing that's ever happened since sliced bread.
This year, and we spent a long time in the first half of this season talking about how your stars are Messi and Suarez and Alba and Busquets, and you have to build the team around those four players. And obviously Busquets and Alba are retiring, and whatever's going on with Suarez, for next year moving forward. I think next year the team has to be built around Lionel Messi and Mateo Silvetti. Because I think that's how good this kid is. Congratulations, Rodrigo de Paul, on the big contract. You did a lot of things in your career, but this is going to, or should be, a team built off of Messi and then secondarily Mateo Silvetti. I don't understand why his stats weren't better in Argentina, because you see not just the playmaking, but also the ability to score. But when you put him on the same team as Lionel Messi and Messi's ability to drive attention and create space for his teammates, and then also to pick the perfect pass, he is going to explode next year. And I think he's going to be the best 22 under 22 in the MLS next year. He's only 19. I think Inter Miami might get this kid for 2 more seasons and then sell him for $30 million.
If that, yeah.
Well, it's because he's so young. And again, Inter Miami did this before. They got the 19-year-old prime prospects from Argentina. And when they first started out with Carranza and Pellegrini. And those kids were not ready for this level at 19. And they were, at least for Carranza, he was finally ready at 23, 22 to be a great player in this league. I think Silvetti's ready at 19. And so to convince him, he needs, maybe it'll be a year and a half. And that summer transfer window where they link up with Europe will be when he ends up going. But man, I think he could score 35 goals between now and then and get another 15 assists, because he's a supreme talent, and I'm so excited.
I'm just glad we somehow got to the point that he's playing on the wings for Inter Miami in the biggest game of the season. I don't know how we got there. I think you and I have cried about it. We've made our hairs fall out, and hopefully Javier Mascherano has listened to this podcast, because eventually we've got to a stage where this is somehow worked out. And I'm just glad that Javier Mascherano had the guts to drop Suarez in favor of Silvetti. And I'm just glad that Silvetti vindicated that decision.
I want to say this. Inter Miami, as a front office and organization, I have I think we've been critical of them this season and some of their roster moves and their decisions to sell international roster spots and then buy them back the day later for more money. And, some of the players they brought in the winter window, the not getting the big center back in the summer. Like, there's a lot of things we were critical about, but one thing we liked from the get-go is you have a U22 spot, you have an international roster slot. You don't necessarily have a great fit, but let's just go get a super talented young kid and make it work. And that's exactly what they did. And maybe even 4 months before it was supposed to start working, it's working. And that might be the difference between them losing in the conference semifinals and winning the MLS Cup. So there wasn't an obvious fit or need, and yet they went out and got a super talented prospect, and now we get to reap the benefits. So congratulations and big kudos to the front office for pulling the trigger on the last day of the window.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, what is your next award?
My next and final award is the Prince Who Was Promised award. And this is a Game of Thrones reference for anyone who didn't get it, because I'm going full nerd tonight.
The Prince Who Was Promised is the legend in Game of Thrones that is going to be the prince because he was promised. I'm guessing it's Rodrigo de Paul because this is the guy we thought was promised the kingdom or the realm, as they might say, and is finally delivering with his army and dragons. Boom, nailed it.
I'm glad you actually got that one because I wanted to nerd out a little bit on this. Also, the Prince Who Was Promised is supposed to carry a sword called the Lightbringer, which is a sword that's on fire. It's burning. And yesterday, the way that Rodrigo de Paul played, he just absolutely cut through like a hot knife the midfield of Cincinnati. And it was like he was carrying that fiery sword. I'm going to stop nerding out now because I feel like that's going to give away a lot about my personality that I'm not ready to express to the whole internet right now. But keep putting on these performances and he's going to be the prince that was promised. That was a brilliant performance from him. His positioning was absolutely spot on. His ability to win the ball and then dissect the straight line-breaking pass into Messi was brilliant. There was one thing that was happening last night, not just related to Rodrigo de Paul, but Messi was occupying that half pocket between the midfield and the back line of Cincinnati, which he always does. But Inter Miami was able to find him a lot more effectively last night. Whether it was Rocco Rios Novo popping the ball into Messi, or whether it was Rodrigo de Paul and Sergio Busquets cutting it straight into Messi, he would collect the ball, turn, and there would be acres of space for him to run into. And he hasn't always been able to do this. Rodrigo de Paul has not always been able to find Messi in that way. And he did that yesterday, and it was brilliant.
He, I think, took advantage of the fact that Cincinnati played a structure that allowed him to do that, but he also did it. And so that's not to take away any of the credit to him. I don't know where we're at with Rodrigo de Paul because if he can give me 2 more of those performances in the next 2 games, almost nothing else matters.
Yep.
But also,
that's the thing, right?
I'm building the team around Silvetti next year. But he played great.
He's the prince who was promised. He hasn't been promised entirely yet. He might just turn out to be Jon Snow and ends up being exiled to the north. So who knows? But I hope he turns out worth the 17 million because if he wins the MLS Cup for this Miami team, it's over. I'm willing to say that Rodrigo de Paul can retire in peace now.
Do you think Rodrigo de Paul being here next year allows them to have more freedom with the roster build? Because so much about the last 2.5 years was Messi, but also wanting to be like with his friends. And now Busquets and Alba and maybe Suarez are going to be gone. And he's still going to have the one friend. And maybe it's always going to be different because de Paul is like almost a decade younger. And he's now had years to get to know Noah Allen and Yannick Bright and all these other guys. So I'm sure he's got other people on the team that he's clearly has a relationship with. But like, I wonder if he just needs that one connection, and now everything else can be built for soccer reasons. And like, I do wonder about that. And it makes
I
me
think
excited
that's going to
about
be
next
at least one familial signing that we're going to make. And I say familial because yes, Messi's going to want at least one more player because he's losing two of his friends at least. Uh, I don't think that's going to be a thing. I think we're still going to see a little bit of an Argentine tilt to the transfer window. But I think just in terms of the
Well,
flexibility,
I'm not talking
the
about
midfield
Argentine.
options,
I'm talking
yeah,
about
but
38-year-old
friends,
former
yeah,
Barcelona
yeah,
players.
maybe. I don't know. I don't think there are any left.
Yeah, maybe. Well, there's the one.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on.
Okay, my last award is El Comandante.
El Comandante, the commander.
Terrible, terrible pronunciation.
El Comandante, the
Oh,
commander.
oh. It's a good thing you're not from, the heart of Miami.
Let's see. The commander. Sergio Busquets.
No,
He
El
commanded them
Comandante
all. Maxi Falcon.
is Maxi Falcone. Thanks to the guy in the chat who gave that to you.
Maxon, that's what we're calling him.
He is like in charge back there in a way that is crazy, considering he's like, he looks, I don't know how to explain it. He's been so good, but he's also had this leadership role in the back line that he is fully accepted, fully embraced, that did not exist over the first 6 months of the season. And he is absolutely in charge of that back line now, takes control of his space, and just eliminates anyone who comes into it. And it's beautiful to watch. Remember, 3 months ago, at the end of the transfer window, we were like desperate to get a new number one center back. Had the deal with Gonzalo Piovi that was never going to work, but they were looking to get an upgrade as their number one center back. And Maxi Falcone was like, I got it. No worries. I got it. And he's been great.
Is he in shouts to be the best defender of the MLS right now?
Well, it's been too short of a sample. But if he plays like he's played over the last 10 weeks or 8 weeks next season for the whole year, like I do think he could be in shouting distance. And by the way, the contract for this level of play, really nice. He is fully owned by Inter Miami. Like this is like a really high quality roster spot.
This is the player we thought we'd sign. This is the player that we thought we'd sign, right? Like,
and in the big moments too, yeah.
He's stepping up and stepping up how? There's one thing your team scoring that many goals, but your defense actually doing its job for once is a new feeling for Inter Miami fans. Like, we're used to Messi balling out and scoring 3 goals. We're not used to the defense doing this well. So for what it's worth, whatever you're feeding El Comandante, keep feeding him that, because my goodness, he's been on another wavelength these last few weeks. Well, now almost 2 months, 3 months. I have been very impressed with his performances. I think his ability to harass the opposition, but at the same time maintain the structure of the back line, at the same time play with his brain, has been so exceptionally undervalued for this Inter Miami backline. I think he's done a world of good to Noah Allen, to Ian Frey on the other side. And I think there's just a structure with which he's helped this Inter Miami team perform in the back line. And that has been missing for a long while. And I'm just glad that we're at a stage now, when the season's coming to an end, that we can say that we're confident in Maxi Falcone starting a game. Because for some parts, that wasn't really the case. But well done to him for turning things around and doing so well over a course of now a consistent period.
Inter Miami gave up 1 goal to Nashville in game 1. That was the 98th minute, whatever, stoppage time free kick by Hani Mukhtar. In game 2, they gave up a penalty, the controversial penalty with Rocco. And then on a corner, Nashville scored. So those are the 3 goals Inter Miami's allowed in the playoffs, off set pieces and off a penalty. But in the run of play, the number of minutes it's been since Inter Miami's given up not just a goal, but even like a clear-cut opportunity is really impressive by the standards of Inter Miami. That back line has been incredible, and give a lot of credit to Rocco, Noah, Ian, and Cello and Jordy for all playing better, I think, stepping up. But no one has done or been more impactful towards that record than Maxi Falcone. And he's the commander of that defense right now.
Yeah, good award. Love it.
Do you have any other awards you want to share? Because I feel like there's
No,
still
I
other
think-
players to talk about.
That was the awards that I had. You and I combined gave it to every single player that I thought was deserving. I thought Jordi Alba was very good. Rocco Rios Novo once again had a really good game. Another clean sheet back to back. By the way, if Inter Miami wins the MLS Cup, Rocco Rios Novo, for what it's worth, would have only lost one game, which didn't actually mean anything in the grand scheme of things, which in itself is a feat for this season and deserves a whole award for itself. Who else? Sergio Busquets, I thought once again had a phenomenal defensive performance, but also offensively stitching things up. And then we've covered practically every other player now.
I can't believe that Jordi Alba and Sergio Busquets are retiring when they're still playing this well. Can't believe it. Baltasar Rodriguez, I think you were maybe a little higher on his performance yesterday than I was.
I thought he was fine.
But I'm also comparing him to Mateo Silvetti, and I just thought the world of Silvetti, so that's probably part of it. Those three, when you talk about Silvetti, Baltasar, and Rodrigo de Paul, the quality and care of the ball that they take in the midfield, I think is in central parts of the pitch, I think has really improved Inter Miami as much as anything.
Yeah.
Especially
the technicality has gone up.
But it's not just their baseline talent. It's, for Silvetti and for Baltasar, it sort of is. But for Rodrigo de Paul, when he is consistently good in the midfield, that trio really, I think, helps alleviate pressure in the midfield and makes Inter Miami better there. And so, yeah, Inter Miami's, I think, really locked in right now, and it's great to see. Okay, let's spend a few minutes talking about what comes next, and we'll pick up on the Luis Suarez conversation now that we've gone through awards. I still think there's a 4% chance that he's back in the starting lineup against NYCFC, but I wouldn't do it.
I think it would be higher than 4%, but I wouldn't do it either. Play Silvetti. This is it, man. This is your team till the final. Run with it. Roll with it.
Well, if Ian Frey's healthy, I think he goes back into the 11.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's working. It looks good. I think if you put Ian Frey back in there, it gets even half a step better, but that would be a like-for-like change that would just be a talent upgrade. Whereas any other move, I think, is really altering the structure of your team. And they're in great form, scoring a ton of goals, and it gives you a ton of options off the bench if you need it. So I would stick with this.
It's that second thing, right? It gives you a bunch of options, and if it doesn't work out, you get to put Suarez on the pitch. So you can change things around. It's not like you can't change things around at all. So for me, I think this is you have to ride this wave. There's something special happening in the attack right now, and you can't disrupt that by putting Suarez back in it. And God forbid it doesn't work and you need a few new solutions up there, you always have the option of putting Suarez back in. So I'd rather go with that than having Suarez come back in, disrupt that flow, and then having to change that back in case Suarez doesn't fire. So, yeah, there's a couple of options here, but I think I'd rather go with the first one, stick with this attack, and then play Suarez as a bench player.
I do want to say, just thinking about this, and this is going to sound really lazy, but Cincinnati outcompeted Inter Miami the last two regular season matchups. And Inter Miami was not going to be able to compete with Cincinnati. And again, I mean that in the effort, fight, athleticism, pure American soccer type way with Luis Suarez on the field. And they showed that in the first two regular season games. And so I think switching it up was necessary. And I'm proud of Mascherano and Messi and everyone else that came to that realization and pulled the trigger on it. I'm not sure it's as necessary against NYCFC. I will remind everyone that we just played NYCFC 7 weeks ago in New York, and we won 4-0, and Suarez did start. So while the regular season record did show Inter Miami might not be able to compete with Cincinnati at TQL Stadium with Suarez on the field. It actually showed the opposite with NYCFC. So, and the reason I'm saying all of that is because like I think Mascherano thought he had to make a change against Cincinnati, but maybe he doesn't feel like he needs to do that against NYCFC at home. So that's why I say there's at least a chance that it will revert.
Yeah,
But I wouldn't do it.
I agree. And also, NYCFC has been our bogeyman team. I think we talked about this last season where we had the worst record against NYCFC of all the MLS teams that we've played. So that's not an easy team to beat.
Well, it's not the other thing is it's not that they're just play really well against Inter Miami. It's that a little thing happens that prevents us. If you remember
Always.
in the first, I think it was the first game of the MLS season, we get a red card in like the 20th minute from Toto Aviles. And now all of a sudden we're down a man and we get a 2-2 draw. Last year we had a 1-0 lead and we're cruising in New York. And then they score a goal in the last 95th minute header. Yeah. Even last year in the spring we were out without Messi, but Suarez scores early. But that was the game that Matt Freese just completely frustrated Suarez. And then they get a goal in the second half and we get a 1-1 draw. And it's like we were so much better than them. And so it's not that you watch NYCFC and think, oh, they match up well against Inter Miami or they compete well with Inter Miami. It's like we're cursed against this team and something is bound to go wrong type of energy with them. So my initial thoughts on this matchup is that Inter Miami matches up well and that they just have to be careful on the counter. And if they are, they should cruise at home. But I am also totally on the lookout for like a silly penalty in the 3rd minute of the game that puts us behind the 8 ball. So I'm still nervous.
I'm still nervous as well. I think this Inter Miami team has done very well. This was the toughest test that we had, but now it's just about winning the game. As I said last time as well, I don't care how we win. By hook or by crook, beat this NYCFC team. If it takes for Mateo Silvetti to go to a voodoo magician to ward off the curse of NYCFC, then be it. We have to win. That's that. And now we're going to be at home. So no excuses at all. Show up and drive them away.
I think they have to win.
They have to. They have to. No choice. What do you mean they have to? They have to win. They cannot lose anymore. Now we're the favorites. Now we are the favorites, and we have to live by that tag.
And I want to be clear, not just the fake favorites, because if you go look at like Vegas, here's a little inside baseball in Vegas. Vegas doesn't pick who they think is going to win. They pick who they think you think is going to win. And that's how they make their money in the margins there. So Miami always is maybe bigger favorites than you would think by the Vegas line. But now that you actually look at who's left, some of the heaviest hitters are out. LAFC, Cincinnati, like taken care of, one of them by us. Inter Miami gets home field advantage. Don't have to play at Philadelphia. San Diego FC is like not a team that scares me. By the way, Philadelphia wasn't a team that scared me either. NYCFC only because they have Magic Voodoo. Minnesota, same thing. Vancouver, we played them earlier in the year, and they kicked our butts in South Florida. But that was Mascherano's absolute worst, and Mascherano's been at his best lately. So, like I think Inter Miami has to go win the whole thing now.
This is the setup. 2 more games. Let's bloody do it. Win the whole bloody damn thing.
Yeah.
I'm nervous now.
Anything else, or before we wrap it up?
No, man. I think this was an exceptional performance. A great day to be an Inter Miami fan. We've come a long way this season, and honestly, I feel like we deserve it. 2 more games to go. This is it. Do or die every single game. Show up, show off, and you have your hand on that trophy.
You know what's cool? No, okay.
What?
Leave me on that one.
No, what's cool? Sorry, I was just reading the chat. What's cool?
Inter Miami is about to play in the conference final on Saturday, and that is pretty cool. Okay,
Never
guys.
in our history before. First time.
No,
Let's
never
do
in
it.
my life for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here. We will be back at some point this week, and then it's all hands on deck for Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be live at 5 p.m. Eastern time for the pregame show. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have a wonderful week. We'll see you guys then. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Do us a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. Since our first viewer, sharing this with you all has been the very best part. So from the beginning until the end, thank you for being a part of this and have a wonderful day.